Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to do a catch breakdown of 4 different glidebait fish that I caught back at High Rock Lake in October. So the glide of choice in this video is the Fish Everything Taxi Shad 7 or TS7 as you may see it called places. And the setup I was using was an 8.6 extra heavy iRod, had a Shimano Tranx 300 and 25 pound fluorocarbon. It's definitely a little bit overkill, as is the rod, but you'll normally be recommended a more parabolic and slightly smaller rod for like a 7-inch glide. That Kistler rod I use a bunch, the 711 extra heavy, is an awesome option. That's the bait, the full setup that I'm throwing it on. Now let's get into some of these catches from High Rock. So as I said earlier, this was the last week of October, so I was practicing for the Angler's Choice Championship event down there. First fish of the day, this was within like the first 5 minutes. I pulled up to a spot that I'd fished back in June and did pretty well. So it's a shallow rock ledge that runs the length of this like entire bank, and I was fishing off the point of it. And I worked my way up shallow, and I was just tossing a couple different baits around, and then I picked up the glide and bombed a cast across the point. And as I'm retrieving it, I get it over that rock ledge, and then I see a fish peel up for it. And what I remember, it was like it almost pulled the rod out of my hand. I know my hand slipped off the reel, and it was a wild hook set, but I think that fish was just under 3 pounds, so pretty solid fish. That was probably like 8 a.m. or something like that. So from here, I moved across the lake and wanted to check some more shallow, rocky, or stumpy areas. So I found myself up behind an island in less than 3 feet of water. And this one was actually pretty cool because I haven't caught many fish burning a glide, but since it was so shallow and I knew there were a ton of stumps there, I made a really long cast and I started retrieving it pretty quick. Like you can see it, I'm like really working this thing quick, and I don't want it to sink too much, and I run into this I think it was 5.5 pounds, but it just crushed it. Like you can almost see my hesitation too. And I remember thinking that I was just stuck on a stump, and I felt him pull back, and then fight ensued from there.
Smoked it.
As the sun was coming up from here, I knew that since we had like no wind that day or anything, I was going to have to start focusing on more cover-oriented areas with shade or docks or something like that. So I started jumping around a bunch, and it slowed down a little bit. We ended up catching 2 more good ones. Before we take a look at those, let's jump into the boat of the week sponsored by Angler's Choice. So this week we're taking a look at an aluminum boat. This is a Tracker Boat Super Guide V16. So this tracker has a 16-foot hull, a 6-foot 4-inch beam, and it's powered by a Mercury 40 horsepower 4-stroke. Up front on the bow you have a Minn Kota power drive. This is a 42 pound thrust trolling motor, and at the console you have a Lowrance Hook 4X. Super clean boat, and if you're in the market for an aluminum tracker, make sure you click the link down in the description below. Go check out that boat of the week. Also, don't forget about Angler's Choice's open house. I'm super excited for it. They have 3 different weekends, 1 at each location. So they have Lexington, January 19th and 20th, Martinsville, which is the event that I'm going to, that's going to be the 26th and 27th, and then Spindale is going to be February 2nd and 3rd. It's a really great time. They open up the showroom floor. You can check out all the boats. There's pros there. There's a ton of different booths as well selling baits. And then obviously Angler's Choice has an amazing tackle shop there themselves. So if you want to come hang out, I'll be there at Martinsville on January 26th and 27th. And again, they have the 2 other locations going on as well. All locations are going to have pros and seminars going on, and it's a really good time to beat the cabin fever. Huge thanks to Angler's Choice for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into it. So after that second fish, I ran around the lake a bunch. I fished some docks, I fished some deeper cover that I'd marked, and I caught 1 or 2 more on a shaky head. Then I had to run back to the ramp. And on my way in, I noticed that there was a ton of hydrilla, and I really wanted to fish around it and see if there was fish holding up in there, and sure enough, there were quite a few. There was a ton of bait. I saw some really big fish on the graph, and I was trying a couple different glides. I was throwing a frog and a couple other things, and I tied this bad boy back on, and it was first cast, and all I was doing was letting the glide sink down. and tick the top of the grass as I'm like working it back to the boat. I'm watching it on the live scope, can't really see any fish, but I just want to see where this glide is in relation to the grass in the water column. So this third one absolutely smoked it. It was awesome, and I think it had like 3 or 4 behind it as well. Once they start following the glide, they kind of reveal themselves out of the grass, so that one worked out really well. Smoked it in the grass. So the fourth and final glide fish of this practice day. I ran up the lake and I was focusing on a bank that had a ton of laydowns on it, and that's where this glide, I feel like, is the strongest, is the ability to pull fish out of cover and get them to eat a glide, or shoot out of cover and eat a glide, is just, I can't really even compare it to anything else. And there's definitely nothing as fun to me as fishing a glide over cover like that. So you can see the bank, like there's a ton of laydowns, and I was just fishing up it pretty quick and seeing where the fish were sitting, and honestly I fished it just to see if there were any fish there. There was a ton of bait, there were a ton of fish, and I'm getting towards the end of the stretch, and I saw the fish come out from like way down in the tree. He saw it probably, I feel like it was at least 10 feet beneath where I had the glide working it through, followed it for like 2 or 3 pops of the reel, and then just smoked it. But the point of this video is just to take a look at a couple of these glide bait catches and just show you that in one day how much versatility this thing has. So basically what I'm getting at is the versatility and drawing power of a glide bait is almost unmatchable. Like, I caught a fish in grass, I caught a fish off a rock, and I caught 2 fish off of wood. Under 5 feet, 5 to 10 feet, and then that last fish, I mean, the boat was in 30 feet of water. I'm not even very good at fishing glides like a lot of guys are, but it's a tool that I always have on the deck. And if there's one thing I can relate to you about fishing glides, is just always have one tied on. And if you see, even if it's one single cast that looks glidey, as I like to call it, make that one cast. Like, sometimes that's all I'll pick it up for, is like 1, 2 casts, 3 casts. But I will say, once you get bit on it, it's really hard to put down. But that's where I'm going to leave this one off. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks again to Angler's Choice for sponsoring it. I'll leave a link for this TS7 down below. They also have it in multiple sizes. I think they have a 6, 7, and a 10 inch. They've got paperweights as well, and they just came out with a herring glide too. So make sure you check those guys out. Thank you so much again for watching this video. Hope you all have a happy holidays. See ya.